was due to arrive any moment, so I can't get out of position.
Yeah.
I can roll on into camera and play it back later, but you know how they like to play live stuff. I took it off. Is it still happening? I've been up since I think 11 a.m. and I don't know if anybody was paying any attention to the monitor. I don't think so. But, I've been up hot since. What was that issue that you said? Video burps back onto the line, or you get some kind of.
That's interesting. But you gotta get some
Your necklace reminds me of overall fish. There's a built-in shell, and at the top, like if you turn your necklace upside down, it has like a fan shell, kind of detailing that would work on top of the shell. Yeah. I'll show you a picture.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And it's gold. Let's see. Right below my ancestors' portrait.
Wow.
Yeah, obviously. I do like it works. It works exactly really well.
That's the thing. It's more here. Next time. Elbow to elbow still. Alright, dude, sorry about that. Okay. It's clean here. I can change.
President Trump, sir, do you believe you can convince Vladimir Putin to end the war in Ukraine? Do you believe Putin is negotiating in good faith, sir? Do you believe, is Putin negotiating in good faith, sir? Thank you. President Trump, sir, do you believe you can convince Vladimir Putin to end the war in Ukraine? Do you believe Putin is negotiating in good faith, sir? Do you believe, is Putin negotiating in good faith, sir? Thank you. President Trump, sir, do you believe you can convince Vladimir Putin to end the war in Ukraine? Do you believe Putin is negotiating in good faith, sir? Do you believe, is Putin negotiating in good faith, sir? Thank you. President Trump, sir, do you believe you can convince Vladimir Putin to end the war in Ukraine? Do you believe Putin is negotiating in good faith, sir? Do you believe, is Putin negotiating in good faith, sir? Thank you. President Trump, sir, do you believe you can convince Vladimir Putin to end the war in Ukraine? Do you believe Putin is negotiating in good faith, sir? Do you believe, is Putin negotiating in good faith, sir? Thank you. President Trump, sir, do you believe you can convince Vladimir Putin to...
Bilateral, trilateral, doesn't matter. Matter just peace. This is important. And we don't speak about NATO or NATO. For Ukrainians, it's very important. Of course, it's our decision, decisions of allies to decide where we are.
But are you willing to give
Yes,
up
but
going
the
NATO?
most important thing for people in Ukraine, which are under each day's attacks, to have really strong security guarantees. NATO is the best, but weapon is very important. Allies on our side is very important, and between us, for us, bilateral security guarantees between me and President Trump is very important. I don't know, we didn't speak with details about it, but this is the most important document because United States is very strong.
Sir, President Trump, you are the middleman right now, hoping to end this conflict. Who is doing a better job negotiating, President Zelensky or President Putin?
I think they're both doing a great job in that sense. We have to get it done. We've got to take some of the hatred of each other. You know, they don't like each other. I say that in front of President Zelensky, but I say it in front of President Putin too. They have tremendous bad blood. It really is what is holding up, I think, a settlement. I think we're going to get it done, and we have to make it long-lasting. As I said in the Middle East, everlasting, right? Everlasting. And the Middle East is a much more complicated situation. You know, we had 59 countries involved, and every one of them agreed. And it's, you know, it's sort of amazing. Most people didn't think that was doable. This is going to be something I really believe that's going to get done. I had a very good talk yesterday with President Putin. I think he wants to get it done.
And President
Peter?
Zelensky, right behind you. When we were in Israel with President Trump earlier in the week, we heard a lot about the difference in diplomacy between President Trump and President Joe Biden before him. What do you see as the biggest difference in diplomacy between President Trump and President Biden?
President Trump has a big chance now to finish this war. President Biden now is not the president, so he doesn't have a chance to finish this war. And President Trump is really showed for the world that he can manage ceasefire in Middle East, and that's why I hope that he will do this, and we will also have such big success. For Ukraine, it's a big chance, and I hope that President Trump can manage it.
I would say the biggest difference is one is extremely competent and the other one is grossly incompetent.
Sir, a few weeks ago in New York when you two met, you said that you think Ukraine could ultimately take back all the territory that it's lost so far. Do you still think that's the case, or do you think there'll have to be some sort of
You never know. Look, you know, war is very interesting. You never know, do you? You just never know. With war and peace, but you never know. Please.
Russia calls Tomahawk supply to Ukraine as an escalation, yet it continues using similar cruise missiles like Caliber. And
Yeah.
even
Who are you with? Who are you with? You Ukraine?
Yes.
Good.
But Russia continue even using the cruise missiles and also nuclear-capable ballistic missiles in Ukraine since 2022. So do you consider providing Ukraine with the Tomahawk or similar missiles as an opportunity to equalize the possibilities of Ukraine and Russia and push Moscow to the negotiation
Yeah.
table?
Sure. We're going to be talking about that. That's why we're here. Okay? Fair question. Exactly as he told you to say it. But we're going to be talking about it. Okay? Yeah, please.
President, message to India and Hungary, who is still refusing.
You said India and Hungary? That's an interesting.
And Hungary.
India and Hungary. It's an interesting combination.
Refuse to stop buying Russian oil.
Well, India is not going to be buying Russian oil anymore. And Hungary is sort of stuck because they have one pipeline that's been there for years and years and years, and they're inland. They don't have sea. They don't have sea. And I spoke with the very great leader of Hungary, and they are, you know, it's very hard for them to get oil. I understand it. Hungary's in a very interesting position because they can't have ports. You know, they're surrounded by land. So we'll see what happens there. But India will not be buying oil from Russia. And they've already de-escalated, and they've more or less stopped. They're pulling back. They bought about 38% of the oil, and they won't be doing it anymore.
President Trump has been helping you in achieving peace in Ukraine.
Who has?
First Lady Melania Trump
Yeah.
has been helping in returning abducted Ukrainian children from Russian captivity. President Zelensky, do you appreciate those efforts? How do you assess them? And did you ask her to step in and to help you?
No, she wanted to do it. She just felt very strongly about the children, and she's done a really good job. I think, in bringing it to the fore. You know, we have a lot of children involved. Now, it's some people say it's 20,000 and some people say it's 300. There's a big difference between that, so nobody really knows. But she felt very strongly about the children. She thinks about the children all the time.
President Trump, if you okay Tomahawks to Ukraine, what's going to happen if the United States is in a conflict and we need the Tomahawks? Do we have enough?
That's a problem. We need Tomahawks, and we need a lot of other things that we've been sending over the last 4 years to Ukraine. We've been, you know, we gave them a lot. Now we have a different situation. We send it to the European Union. They pay for it and all that, and they have plenty of money. But it's beyond the money. You know, we need Tomahawks, and we need a lot of other weapons that we're sending to Ukraine. One of the reasons we want to get this war over is exactly that. It's not easy for us to give. You're talking about massive numbers of very powerful weapons. So that's one of the things we'll be talking about. Hopefully they won't need it. Hopefully we'll be able to get the war over with without thinking about Tomahawks. I think we're fairly close to that. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say,
yeah, please.
Just you to understand. So for today, of course we want to finish this war, but the war is another technological war. You don't use just Tomahawks. If you want to target a military goal, you need thousands of drones. It goes together with such missiles. Ukraine has such thousands of our production drones, but we don't have Tomahawks. That's why we need Tomahawks. But United States is a very strong production, and the United States has Tomahawks and other missiles, very strong missiles, but they can have our thousands of drones. That's why where we can work together, where we can strengthen American production.
And so just so that I understand, so you're suggesting kind of a trade. If President Trump okays Tomahawk missiles to help you launch...
Yes, it's about Russia, military goals. It's only about military goals.
Right, but then you would authorize some kind of an exchange where...
Yes, of course.
The US
yes, we have proposition. We have big proposition with our drones.
President Trump, I don't mean to be brokering an arms deal here, but is that something that you would be interested in, Ukrainian drones?
We are, yeah, we would. We have a lot of drones right now. We build our own drones, but we also buy drones from others, and they make a very good drone. I mean, drone warfare has really come to the fore over the last couple of years because of this war. I will say, there's nothing like the jets. You know, we knocked out a lot of drones in Israel. We were knocking them out for Israel, and we were doing it with extremely fast and powerful jets, following the drones and knocking the hell out of them. So, it's, you know, we know a lot about the drones, and we know a lot about the great jets, the great ones. The ones, well, and the B-52s, which were totally they were stealth. They were undetectable. So we have a lot of different weapons. And, you know, I have an obligation also, though, to make sure that we're completely stocked up as a country, because you never know what's going to happen. In war and peace, right? You never know what's going to happen. So we're going to be talking about Tomahawks, and would much rather have them not need Tomahawks. Would much rather have the war be over, to be honest, because, you know, we're in it to get the war over. We're selling a lot of different types of weapon, as you know, to the European Union. We're not in it for that. We're in it to get it over. We're losing thousands of people a week, thousands of people, Russian, Ukrainian, and mostly soldiers. I mean, mostly soldiers. But we're in it to see that end. And if we can end quickly, and I think we can. I mean, I had a very good talk yesterday. We're going to be talking about it. But I had a very productive talk yesterday with President Putin. We'll see what happens. But the war in the Middle East was far more complicated. We got that one done. And I think we have a good chance. I think President Zelensky wants it done, and I think President Putin wants it done. Now all they have to do is get along a little bit.
Can you give us an update on the trade negotiations with China, or perhaps Secretary Bessent?
Yeah, I will, and I'm going to let Scott do that. But I think we're doing very well. I think we're getting along with China. China would like to have something. As of this moment, we'll be meeting in a couple of weeks. We'll be meeting in South Korea.
You think
Myself.
will go forward?
I think so. It looks like it's going forward. I think so. They want to meet. We like to meet. I have a very good relationship with President Xi, and we're going to see what happens. But, for years we were taken advantage of by China very badly. We were losing hundreds of billions of dollars a year to China. We really built their military, if you think about it. The kind of money that presidents allowed to be lost to China was just insane. And then when I came into office, as you know, I put very severe tariffs. So we took in hundreds of billions of dollars in my first term from China. Biden let that go because it was so much. He let it continue, but he gave all sorts of exceptions. And by the time you looked at it, Scott, I would say it wasn't the same thing. He would give an exception for anything. If you got up and went out to dinner, he'd give you an exception. So it wasn't the same thing. But I put on very serious tariffs, and we took in hundreds of billions of dollars. And then I left office. The election was rigged. I left office, and that was the story. Now I come back, and we are in a very strong position because of tariffs. We're in a very powerful position because of the fact that we have tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be in a very weak position. We would be in a weakened state. But with tariffs, we've made hundreds of billions of dollars, not only from China, but from others. And China wants to talk, and we like talking to China. So we have a very good relationship, and we're going to be meeting in South Korea a couple of weeks. And I just got back from a long trip. I'm going on another long trip. And Scott, do you want to say a few words on that, please?
Yes, sir. So the entire relationship stems from the great respect that the two leaders have for each other. China did a substantial, unprovoked escalation last week. We were unable to get in touch with them. Since then, it's been IMF World Bank Week. They have had working level people here who there have been meetings. The Vice Premier, who is my counterpart, and I will be speaking this evening at around 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then he and I and a delegation will meet in Malaysia probably a week from tomorrow to prepare for the two presidents to meet. So I think that things have de-escalated. We hope that China will show the respect that we have shown them. And I am confident that President Trump, because of his relationship with President Xi, will be able to get things back on a good course.
Is the hope for that meeting with you and President Xi some kind of trade deal then? Or
Could be.
More
Look, I think we're in a very strong position. I think we're in a very strong position. We're getting, as you know, as of November 1st, I could move it up if I wanted, a 100% tariff over and above what we get now. So that would make it about 157%. And China doesn't want that, and they want to talk, and we're talking. And I think we'll make a deal that will be good for both. I think we will do something. But you have to understand, we never got anything from China. It was a one-way street. For many years, for decades, it was a one-way street. And they became rich because of the United States. And frankly, presidents that, let's be nice, they didn't know. They just didn't know. They didn't understand what was happening to them. But I understood it. I understood it long before I ran for politics. I used to watch in amazement at how stupid our country was, how stupid they were. And we're not stupid anymore. And that includes with the European Union, that includes with Japan and South Korea. All we want to do is be treated fairly. But the fairly is hundreds of billions and even trillions of dollars coming into the United States. And it's our national security is secure because of tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, we would have no national security. So it's very important.
Will you seek China's help in ending the war in Ukraine? Do you need them to put pressure on Russia?
I'll be discussing that, but I'd love to see it ended before that. I think we have a chance of ending the war quickly if flexibility is shown on behalf. And again, we're not losing people. The United States is not. We're not losing people. We're not spending money. We're getting paid for the, ammunition and missiles and everything else that we're sending to the European Union, but to NATO. But it's very similar. If you look at the countries, it's very similar. And we just made a very fair trade deal with the European Union. And what we wanted, and we made a very good deal with NATO too. You know, they pay for all of this. That's not what we're in this for. We're in it to save thousands of lives every week. Thousands and thousands of lives. That's why we're in it. And I think we have a very good chance of bringing this war to a conclusion.
You're a peace president, and your cabinet has done honestly an excellent job. I think that a lot of people could agree to that.
Thank you.
I'm speaking as someone who lost my father in a war, so I know the human cost. What would your advice be to American leaders, to world leaders, to neocons, to TV hosts who often speak about conflict in abstract or strategic terms rather than the human cost and the human terms?
Look, my only statement is we have to get together. It's a very small group of people. It's the president, and the president. Okay, 3 presidents. And I'm the mediator president. And I'm mediating not an easy situation. It should be easy, but it's a lot easier when people understand each other, when they get together, and when they like each other. We don't necessarily have that situation as far as like is concerned. Maybe it can turn around. Maybe it can. But in the meantime, we'll have them keep a little bit of distance, and we're going to see if we can get it done. This is number 9, okay? This will be number 9 for me. I've solved 8, including the Middle East. I've solved 8. This, I thought, would have been among the easiest. We solved, President Putin mentioned yesterday Armenia, you know, all of the different wars. He said it was amazing because but the big one that he was surprised that we were able to settle was the Middle East. He thought it was incredible. He was very generous in that sense. This should be something we're able to settle, and I think we will be able to settle.
Brian. On that note, you will go down as the peacemaker, no doubt, and you will resolve this war.
Well, you know, we resolved 8 others. It's funny how people say that. If you get this one, every time I do one, they forget about that one. I solved 8 wars. Go to Rwanda and the Congo, talk about India and Pakistan, look at Thailand, look at all of the wars that we solved. And every time I solve one, they say, if you solve the next one, you're going to get the Nobel Prize. I didn't get a Nobel Prize. Somebody got it who's a very nice woman, very nice. I don't know who she is, but she was very generous. So I don't care about all that stuff. I just care about saving lives. But this will be number 9. But every time I solve one, they said, sir, if you solve one more, you're going to be known as a peacekeeper. So to the best of my knowledge, we've never had a president that solved one war. Not one war. Bush started a war. A lot of them start wars, but they don't solve the wars. They don't settle them. And especially when they have nothing to do with us. I saw almost, I guess, just about all of these wars had nothing to do with us. But I saved tens of millions of lives. The Prime Minister of Pakistan said, I saved millions of lives in interceding on Pakistan, and you look at Pakistan and India as an example. That would have been a bad one, 2 nuclear nations, right? So I say this, this is pretty much the last one, although I do understand that Pakistan attacked, or there is an attack going on with Afghanistan. That's an easy one for me to solve if I have to solve it. In the meantime, I have to run the USA, but I love solving wars. You know why? I like stopping people from being killed, and I've saved millions and millions of lives, and I think we're going to have success with this war. Wait, please.
This, President Zelensky, this is your 3rd time over here.
Oh.
And by the way, you look excellent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
For you, by the way. This is your 3rd time here. How different sitting across from the president is this time versus the 2 previous times here at the White House, and how confident are you hearing the success rate of solving these prior wars that he can get this war solved?
First of all, about suit. The same suit because the same president. It's very simple. The next president will have another suit. Yes, about our relations with President Trump, I think we have important dialogues, and I think we begin to understand each other. Yes, and I know that President is briefed very well about situation in the battlefield, and he knows a lot what's going on the battlefield in Ukraine. And I think it really helps when you know a lot of things, a lot of details about one or another war. It helps a lot, but we are still in war, and I hope
Mr. President, on NATO,
we can manage.
You have been
I think
clear
it's
that there are some
important.
countries that are not meeting their commitment. You pointed out Spain. They said that like it's impossible.
No, Spain has not come through. No, Spain has not been loyal to NATO. Spain has been, they're the only one. Everyone went up to, as you know, I mean, you were at 2% and they all went up to 5%, but Spain disagreed with that. I think Spain should be reprimanded for that. I think it's very bad that they did that, but that's up to them. That's up to NATO and Spain.
Mr. President,
They cannot be expelled from NATO.
Can they or not?
They cannot, according to the treaty, but they also claim that they are